Welcome to Dial It In, a podcast where we talk with fascinating people about marketing, sales, process improvements, and tricks that they use to grow their businesses. Join me, Dave Meyer, and Trygve Olsen of BusyWeb as we bring you interviews on how the best in their fields are dialing it in for their organizations. Let's ring up another episode. We're replaying our summer favorites at Dial It In, and this week we're covering George Thomas. We asked all of our production team at Dial It In to highlight their favorites, and Andy, our producer, actually had this to say about George. First, he said his favorite quotes were that, "I don't play the game to win, I play the game to inspire others." It kind of resonated with all of us, I think. He also said, "I don't go to work, I go to play, and when I go to play, I have way more energy." And he also highlighted this quote, "How can I quickly create street smart content for people to get the ish done that they need and then get back on to the stuff that they want to do?" We all loved George's happy, helpful human approach, and Andy in particular loved George's enthusiasm and down-to-earth common sense to help people figure things out and make it easy to do what they need to do. His helpful nature is what makes him fun to be around. Enjoy George Thomas, and we'll see you next week.
We're back, season 3, new music, new everything. What'd you think of the new music, Dave?
I love it. And, it kind of speaks to the Dial It In part where it starts out fuzzy and then it sharpens. So
yeah,
we'd love to hear feedback from folks that are listening if they dig it as much as we do.
Yeah, we were pretty exciting. That was a difficult process to sit and listen through 200-300 tracks to find fun that we did, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was tough. And what was the feedback we got on our old music that led us to changing it?
That it sounded like Just a Gigolo by David Lee Roth.
That's right. Yeah. So people were expecting that we ain't got nobody instead of dialing it in. So that was bad.
Well, the Northern girls, with the way they talk, they keep their boyfriends warm at night. So
that's correct.
So I'm super excited. We're in season 3. We're gonna have a whole lot. Really just amazing people. We're going to be talking about amazing things. We're going to try and empower people, have them learn a little bit, and also just be entertained as well. So it's going to be a great season. We've got a lot of really, really great guests lined up. But good news is for this year, we have a lot more sponsorship than we did in years past, which is exciting because it helps defray some of the costs of doing this. Are you excited about the sponsors?
I am. I've heard a couple of previews, and boy, these are on the spectrum of interesting beyond where we've been before. So I like it.
All right. So today's episode is sponsored by Myers Blinker Fluid, the ultimate solution for all your vehicle signaling needs. Whether you're navigating busy city streets or cruising down the highways, Myers Blinker ensures your blinkers shine brighter and last longer. Trusted by professional drivers and car enthusiasts alike, our advanced formula guarantees optimal performance and reliability. Don't settle for less. Choose Myers Blinker Fluid and drive with confidence. Get yours today and experience the difference. Use the promo code DIAL for 10% off your first 5-gallon drum of blinker.
Ooh, I just got a note in from the production department, and they'd like to add that with Myers Blinker Fluid, the TikTok will not be banned ever.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, our guest today is a dear and wonderful old friend. I think my goal in the next 45 minutes, because he is without a doubt the happiest and kindest person that I've ever met, is let's see if we can piss him off and see if we can get him to be cross. So our guest today is George Thomas. George is a HubSpot friend. He is the chief HubSpot helper and owner at Sidekick Strategies and the chief human helper at Beyond Your Default. George helps companies streamline and grow by using the right HubSpot CRM, marketing, sales, service, operations, and CMS tools. George is a vault of valuable information, which is absolutely true, tactics and strategies with a record-breaking amount of HubSpot Academy certification. I don't think that's true. I think we have somebody on staff here that can match up with him. But George's true passion is being a catalyst for growth and helping others to be inspired, educated, and willing to work hard to achieve unlimited success. addition to that, he is the creator of the Hub Heroes and Beyond Your Default YouTube channels and podcast. In addition to that, he also shares monthly tactical advice through his Sidekick Strategies newsletters. In what passes for George's free time, which he's actually honestly very protective of, he is a professional speaker, MC, husband, father, and friend to many. Welcome, George.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. First of all, I now know where I can pick up that blinker fluid that my wife keeps asking me if I'm low on when I'm driving. The other thing too is what's fun is everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing. So that's amazing, right? I'm not a gigolo, but hey, they know the part I'm playing. This is going to be a fun time. I'm excited to be sitting here with you gentlemen. I'm excited to dive into the story. One last piece I will say, I get excited when people have more HubSpot Academy certifications than me. I didn't play the game to win. I played the game to inspire along the way.
Yeah. So how many HubSpot certifications do you? I have 14. I think
Yep. My all-time high was 42. I think I'm at like 30 something right now. Although somebody on my team actually has, I think they're at 46 right now. So we love us some certifications.
Yeah, we have somebody on our team that beautiful. She's too short of completing the entire row, and she's really ticked about it. You can't talk to her about it because it's funny. Because she's really mad that she doesn't have the other two. So she was jealous. Victoria said to say hi.
Oh, well, hello back.
And we're recording this a couple of weeks before Boston, which is the big conference. And you're actually keynoting once, twice, 3 times.
Well, so we got an encore, amazingly. The first session was seats filled in an hour and about 48 minutes. We're also doing a debate at Inbound. And then on Wednesday and Thursday night, we're also doing like the late show with George B. Thomas from 5 to 5:30 as well. So needless to say, my calendar is packed because add in dinners and conversations and maybe hitting a couple of sessions. Yep, that's a week. That's a wrap.
And for those...
It goes so fast.
We're talking about the HubSpot's Big Giant Conference, which is an amazing fair, but in addition to that, it is chock full of everything, and it is 4 full days, sun up to sundown of stuff. So it's exciting to see that they're bringing you back for another year. But what I wanted to talk to you about is I've known you for a long time, and I think you have such an amazing personal journey. So when I met you, you were working for a place called Impulse Creative, which is a wonderful firm based in North Carolina. But then you decided that you wanted to go out on your own, which I think a lot of people have feeling, and a lot of people have dream of wanting to do that. And having done that at a point in my life too, I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today is what made you decide I'm going to go out on my own?
Yeah. So let me just start out with, I never had that dream. I always told myself that I was a great number 2 to a number 1, a great Robin to a Batman. If we look back even before the Impulse Creative, Remington Begg, Rachel Begg, amazing humans. By the way, located in Florida. I'm in North Carolina. They're in Florida. But if we go past that, right? I was the, peanut butter to the chocolate for Marcus Sheridan when we were at the Sales Lion. And so, I loved playing that part. For Remington, he was one of the most technical, brilliant dudes at the time with HubSpot and what we could build. And I was kind of the slapstick, create, YouTube videos and tutorials and do podcasts. And I've always kind of been like the Abbott to Costello, if you will. And so it hasn't been a dream to like, one day I hope I can sail off into the sunset and own my own company. I was actually quite comfortable being inside of an organization until I wasn't comfortable. And by the way, immediately when you start to say that, gentlemen, people are like, oh, some ish happened. Like somebody made somebody mad. Like that's not what happened. As a matter of fact, usually people will give like a 2-week notice or a 30-day notice. I gave a 60-day notice. Hey, in 60 days, this is what I feel like I'm supposed to do. The universe is calling my name. I really am not sure that I want to do it. I feel like I'm on this massively large cliff I could die, but I'm going to give it a shot in 60 days. And I worked every one of those 60 days because I fully understood the gap that I was creating by removing the brand that I had built that was George B. Thomas out of the organization. And so it was like, hey, from his side, hey, I hope you do good. Here's some things to think about. Hey, I still love you as a friend. Like, let's make sure we keep in touch. Let's talk. And then boom, jump off the cliff. And the rest has been craziness.
I'm sure.
I think that there's so much about that that's okay. It's okay if you grow apart from an organization. It's okay.
Right.
It doesn't mean the organization is bad. It just means things change. And it does.
If there's one thing I know about Remington is he's a collaborator, and I've chatted with him a number of times, and it's always about what's the best for you and how can we all grow and benefit from each other's success. So I totally get how that worked. And I remember chatting with you right before that happened, George, and it was exactly that. And you were like, okay, how am I going to make sure that there's a soft landing and take care of, there's a lot of IP that we created together, and how do we make that work? And now you've carved off your own brand. So you mentioned that it's been messy and exciting and jumping off that cliff. How's it going?
Yeah, it's amazingly, honestly, when you jump off that cliff, the first part you feel like you're flying, which is both exciting and scary as all get out. Then you finally kind of land in the land of new, and you have to start to ask yourself, well, now that I'm in the land of new, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, where am I supposed to go? And so when we first made this decision to go out on our own, and when I say we, I mean my wife and I made a decision together of like, do we want to attempt this? And I have to give a shout out to my wife because she was like, look, I've been with you as you chased your dreams the entire time. Like, if this is where we need to go, we need to go. She only had 2 rules, by the way. I had to make sure there was some sort of paycheck hitting the bank every 2 weeks, like I worked a job, and we had to have insurance. Those were the hurdles. So I had to fix those first and get those in place. And so once we got to that point, though, we realized we jumped out of this plane and we said to ourselves, we're going to be a solopreneur. We're going to get a couple clients. We're going to eke out an existence. And so georgebthomas.com, like, we'll just point them to that. I'll be the brand. I've always been the brand. And we quickly realized, oh man, the 10 years of creating HubSpot tutorials, the 10 years of doing podcasting, the 10 years of adding value, created a brand that was more powerful than I even had ever imagined, because we started getting more clients than I could actually help by myself. And so we quickly hired, I had to start to buy back my time, like Dan Martell talks about, right? And so I had to quickly like hire my son to do podcast editing and video editing, hired my daughter to like do project management, hired a full-time HubSpot implementation specialist named Jorge, who is kick butt, takes names, a totally amazing human. And so now the entire family works for us. We've got multiple contractors. We've got we have just had this expansion and growth. And so we got to a point where I've always been the type of guy who's like, I need to show up as who I am, my authentic self. Like, so if people see me on stage, or if they're sitting by my fire pit, or if we're out to dinner, they're like, yeah, George is just George. You get George. I was showing up as a solopreneur, but we were an agency. Like, we had the humans. There were more people doing things. We had processes in place. And so we got to the point where we're like, okay, we need to show up as an agency because that's what we are. And so in GBT fashion, on April Fool's Day, we launched Sidekick Strategies, and basically as a, hey, George B. Thomas is going out of business scenario, but only to truly talk about how we are launching the agency as like the place to get HubSpot services moving forward. And so that's kind of part of the journey. Is we landed in this place. We quickly realized we needed to pivot. And so now George B. Thomas is basically MC, speaking, the author, the podcaster place. Sidekick Strategies is the HubSpot, helping humans with HubSpot space. Out of the growth and journey, we were able to start Beyond Your Default, which is a podcast and a newsletter, basically personal growth and my ability to just be a mentor to many instead of only a mentor to one, on like how to live the best life you can live. And now we're even in the beginning phases of launching what is the Superhuman Framework, which is a whole bunch of like individual humans, teams, and company culture information that I'm very passionate about that we're going to be bringing to the world in the future. So I sit here after 2 years jumping off a cliff, looking at the fact of we now have these 4 pillars of what we're doing or what we're bringing to the world to help humans.
I'm exhausted just listening to all that.
But it's fun. Like, here's the thing. I love that you mentioned it being exhausted, because one of the mindsets that I've had for a lot of years is I don't go to work. I go to play. Mm-hmm. And when I show up to play, I have way more energy. And so like I go to bed and am I tired because we did stuff? Yes. But I go to bed excited because I know I get to wake up, hopefully, prayerfully, I get to wake up the next morning and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And that's the differentiation right there. Instead of I have to, I get to. And to be able to control your own destiny and to set where you're going and what you're doing. I think that's a huge part of that. So as you've done this, one of the things that I've always marveled about, George, is your capacity to create. And, I don't mean that you can create. I mean, just the amount of work and content that you put on a regular basis across 4 ventures. You're still generating all of this content. So,
and by the way,
how do you carve that up?
It should be noted, George has the innate ability to ruin a bad mood better than one. Remotely,
I'll take that as the
in person
ultimate compliment.
If you want to have a bad day ruined, and if you are in a funk and you want to stay in a funk, George is not your guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but back to Dave's question, how do you do that?
It's funny because I think part of it is in both of what you just said, right? There's a level of positivity and a level of gratitude that I just show up with. There's positivity and gratitude because there's also a level of reciprocity that I feel like I owe back to the world. I don't talk about this a lot, but for the first 25 to 27 years of my life, I wasn't really the happy, helpful, humble human that was focused on giving value back to the world. I was very much a what's in it for me? How can I, why am I not seeing the blessings? What's the shortcut? There was very little long-term thinking. When I flipped the switch to realizing I had this reciprocity that I had to pay back to the planet because all of a sudden I was getting these gigantic hands up, all of a sudden working for Marcus, getting picked to do keynotes, different things like that. I'm like, okay, I've got a job to do here. And so when it comes to showing up to play, showing up with positivity, showing up out of gratitude, showing up in a way that you want to pay back where you're at, and add in a layer of that my only goal is not to be successful, but to be significant and to be able to see the ripples that are created at the end of my life. Now, all of a sudden, we talk about content creation. And for me, it's been an iterate process. How can I create it better? How can I create it faster? This is why today we're sitting in a room of my house with pro mic, pro camera, multiple screens, soundboard. I look over and there's a GoPro that I could grab real quick and go out and shoot a video. I record right to my computer so that it can go right to the editor. I had this set of years, and this was really started back at the sales line where it was how do I optimize every minute of my time to be able to create more content to help fill the educational gap that exists. And by the way, I'm saying educational gap in a world where we have HubSpot Academy. And we have a world where there's 48, certifications that you can get. But there was still a gap because it wasn't I need to get in, get out, and get back to work. It was more academia versus like street smarts. And so I've always kind of correlated to how can I quickly create street smart content for people to get the ish done that they have to get done and then get back on the stuff that they want to do. And so all of that kind of formulates into this, like, not to mention, if you've done it 1,000 times, it's easy to just get on the mic and riff. Like, it's easy to open up HubSpot and just do, because you've done it for clients and you've done it for yourself. And you just, you know, the talk tracks that people connect with and understand. And so were the first 100 or 300 videos hard and took a lot of time? Yes. But for everyone after that, it just becomes easier and easier. And so that's why we can create what we can create now. I also have to say, though, we've gotten to the point where take that optimization mindset, and I now have, which I dreamt about having this day, I now have a content strategist that works hand in hand with me on helping to create some of the textual content around the videos we're creating, helps do some research into the right directions of what we should be creating. Like, so now what's nice is we went through what I'll call the dark ages of having to edit it myself and shoot it myself and like strategize it myself, to now I have a content strategist, myself, and then 2 sons who do video editing and podcast editing, because I just had to buy back my time. So now we're an engine. Now we've added cylinders and oil and blinker fluid and tape deck to listen to David Lee Roth. And like, we're a car driving down the road creating content.
Wow.
He's also just listening to him. But I think what I want to like go run a 5K and also take a nap all at the same time. So,
it's like inspiring but tiring.
Right.
Right.
So I want to ask one question before, because I think this is something that is really, really, really unique to you. Is you also have, in addition to everything else, you have a very specific personal brand. Like, you're talking about the room you're in right now. It is also littered with Marvel toys and also painted completely orange. So God bless your wife for letting you paint a room in your house orange.
She painted it for me. It was a surprise. Yeah, I mean, my room used to be purple and she painted it orange.
I mean, God bless your wife for letting you choose a paint color in your own house more than they actually doing the work too. But you know, also like little things, like you have big giant Harry Carey glasses and you have a signature look, which it is rare to see you wearing a collared shirt. And you typically wear hoodies and baseball caps all the time and they always match at the same time.
Yep.
What is it, a personal thing? Or because I think one of the things that's so great about you as a person is you just so decidedly you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something that I battled with a long time in my life. And if I could wave a magic wand, I would help people figure this out quicker than it took me. And that is, it is a beautiful place when you can just show up as a whole ass human. Mm-hmm. When you can just show up as you and you don't have to have masks and you don't have to feel like you have to have walls to keep yourself safe. When you can just put yourself out there and realize people will either love you or hate you for who you are, but the ones that love you are the ones that you're supposed to be spending time with anyway. Like, it's just a very freeing moment. And one of the things that I think differentiates me a little bit, again, that if I could give it to people, I would, is that I haven't had a problem being, my buddy calls it a transition specialist. He's like, dude, you're a transition specialist. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you pivot all the time. Like, you were a web designer, developer, then all of a sudden you're a marketer, and then you're a HubSpot guy and a podcaster, and then you're doing video tutorials, and now you're doing stuff with AI. Like, you're always pivoting and transitioning. And I'm like, well, I'm curious. Mm-hmm. And I want to learn more. Like, and so this idea of being curious, being your whole self, allowing yourself to pivot into the places, to learn the lessons, less to worry about the failures. And that's the thing. I've created all this content and not ever worrying if anything went viral or if somebody would call it a failure, because I was focused on the value that it would bring. And so, I turned 50, almost 3 years ago. And most 50-year-olds wear a suit jacket or wear a tie they wear a suit jacket or they wear a tie. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to zig when other people zag. And so this is literally when I started to do the orange hoodies, the orange hats, the purple hoodies, the purple hats, like all of the things that I could actually change or be different, be me. And so the very interesting piece is like, I love Marvel. I love Star Wars. I love the Fast and Furious. I love to smoke cigars. I like to drink some whiskey. I like Jesus and like to go to church. Like, so if I can just, I love HubSpot. I love orange. It's not my favorite color, by the way. Surprisingly, it's purple. But this idea of like being able to just be and do who you want to be. Everybody else is taken. I know that's a saying, but everybody else is taken. So just quit trying to fit into a mold and create your own mold along the way.
For sure. And I think that's one of the tricks that you've been able to master, George, is when you're doing you, you're also keeping that in a framework that helps you grow the organizations that you're part of. Right. So as we talked about right before we started recording, you know, the theme of dialing it in, you have a compass, and as you're setting that into the ventures that you've created, you're able to use that as your guiding star. Right. So how do you keep all of that organized, and how do you keep, like, as a family business, literally a family business, how are you keeping everyone on the same page?
Yeah. So it's funny. There's a couple things that come to mind when you ask me that. One, there's, we're always paying attention to mindsets, philosophies, and best practices. And out of those mindsets, philosophies, and best practices, content can be created all day, every day, all day. But also you can build frameworks and processes around the mindsets, philosophies, and best practices that you have. So one of the things is that everything that we're talking about, it leans back into the universe, God, however you feel about it, has been designing me to be a certain human being. And in 2013, I didn't realize the power of the words that were coming out of my mouth when I ended one of my HubSpot tutorials with, don't forget to be a happy, helpful, humble human.
Oh.
Because those words,
those 4 words.
Yeah, those, and by the way, they're on the hat, like literally the hat that I'm wearing. It has the words on there: happy, helpful, humble. Those words have over time been constructed into a 10H element framework called the Superhuman Framework. That framework is stood up on what we call the 4 cornerstones of the framework. And so from an individual human standpoint, from the teams that we're building, and from the organization or organizational culture that we're developing, we're always looking at the cornerstones and we're looking at the framework. So, for instance, the 4 cornerstones, well, actually, above or around all of that, everybody needs to understand, if we dial it in, for us, our organization and the people that we're helping, we're always trying to point to, it's all about the humans. Internal humans, external humans, human-centric approach, human experience. Like, it's all about the humans. If there are no humans, there's nothing. We don't need to do any of this if we're not on the planet. If we're not healthy, we're corrosive. So how do we make this all about the humans? So when you think about it's all about the humans and we go into the 4 cornerstones, now we're talking about love, purpose, passion, and persistence. So we're looking through the lens of, like, why do we do it? Because we love humans. Like, we're passionate about it. It's our purpose. Like, it's a deeper calling. So what's the key to success? Being persistent. It's 1 tutorial every day for 10 years gets you to a magical place. Like, it's that Will Smith thing of building a wall 1 brick at a time, right? Pretty soon you have a wall and you thought you only had a pile of bricks. So you think about those 4 things: love, purpose, passion, persistence. And then the 10 H's, which is like holistic. and happy and helpful and humble and human and hungry, aka hustle, holiness, like health. And so you have these 10 gauges that you can start to look at on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, again, from an individual human, from your teams, or from your organizational culture of like the health or lack thereof of this entire framework. And what's crazy is I have pretty much a personal story, either around teams, around organizations I've worked in, or my life itself that tie back into all of these elements.
Well, here's a question I want to ask Dave. Let's talk about George as if he weren't here for a minute, because that's a great thing to do on a podcast. What's interesting for me, Dave, is when I hear other people saying pretty much exactly what George is saying, I just tune. But when George does it, believable. I want more, and I want to follow that guy, and I'd like to subscribe to his.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
My impression, and I agree. I have the same experience when I'm checking with George. Anything that he touches, it's the enthusiasm and the realness of what he does. It's so clear when you talk to George, when you see him on stage, when you hear him in any of his various forms, that he is who he says he is. He's not a talking head. He doesn't goof around. He doesn't play. He's not pretending. This is who George is. So that authenticity just screams right through. And so I think that's what captures my attention.
He's a fully formed person. He knows who he is, and he's okay.
So,
hey, George is back.
Yeah, George is back. So I have drilled this down because I've been asked that question, and there's been that conversation around me before. My dad, when I was younger, he used to say this thing like, I don't want lip service. I want the truth. Good, bad, or indifferent. I've been built in a way that if I hear something, I'm going to tell you the truth, my truth of how I feel or think about it. The other piece is I care. I don't care about revenue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about looking good. I don't care if people judge me on my weight. I don't care if people don't like the fact that I wear a hoodie. I do care if you get value out of the words that come out of my mouth. I do care if you get insight. I do care if you take action. I do care if I was at any point, small or large, a catalyst in your life and made it better. Like, because here's the thing. One of my internal narratives that I run is, how do I leave them better than I found them?
Mm-hmm.
How do I not provide lip service? The fluff. I hate the fluff. How do I leave them better than I found them? And how do I walk away and they feel like, ooh, that dude cares? That's my goal. There you go.
Cool.
I like a guy that can handle it. Let's go.
Yeah. He'll complain and be like, "Oh, smile and wave, boys." But we'll trust him. So you mentioned that was a big deal. You used to be a big fat guy like me.
Yeah.
Now we are both considerably less than we used to be, physically speaking.
Less of a human to become more of a human, right?
Tell me more about that process, because you started walking as a way to lose weight.
Yeah.
And you were doing 6-7 miles a day.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey with that. Look, I've always, my demon is food, and that's my drug of choice, by the way.
Yeah.
And my belief that people told me when I was younger, oh, you're just big boned. Oh man, if I could go back and just tell some people not to say one thing about me that became a belief structure for so many years that didn't have to be true. So it was funny because COVID happened back in the day, and I was like, I need to get out into the world, and don't want to be stuck in my house. And so one way I could do that is I could go out and walk. And so I started walking, and it was like an hour here, an hour there, and it just progressed into where I was walking like 3 hours a day. We were hitting anywhere from 6 to 9 miles a day. And I went from, at that point, 320-ish pounds down to 254, I think was the lowest weight that I got on that journey. I lost like 79 pounds in about 9 months. And then I did one of the dumbest things I ever done in my life. I took a break over Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
And that break stayed consistent for about 2 years. And I went back up to about 311 pounds. And so now for the last, it's probably been 5 or 6 months, I'm on a new journey, a different journey. It kind of mirrors that journey, but there's a big difference that I want people to know about. I am walking again. By the way, the reason I walk and I don't run and I don't really do like heavy weightlifting is because I have rheumatoid arthritis. And so like I have pain in my body. I deal with it. It is what it is. Walking, I can get away with. Swimming, I can get away with and not actually feel like I just want to curl up in a ball and cry when I go to bed at night. And so walking is a good thing. But here's what changed, because 5 or 6 months ago, I ended up in the hospital again. And it was inflammation around my heart and my, like there's a liquid sac there, and inflammation in my colon, which, by the way, rheumatoid arthritis is just inflammation of the joints. Mm-hmm. And so my body literally was like, well, if the joints ain't enough, let's just go ahead and throw it in a couple other places. And so I got through the hospital and I decided, you know what, it's time to take this bull by the horns. And I'm going to ignore all the belief structures that I've historically had. And I'm just going to dramatically change my life. But for the first time in my life, I'm not going to go on a diet, because a diet is something I can take a break from. I'm just going to change my life. And I'm going to eat in a way, not to lose weight. I'm going to eat in a way that I don't feel pain. Because if I don't eat sugar, I don't really, my arthritis doesn't flare up. If I don't eat breads and pastas, my arthritis doesn't flare up. If I stay away from processed foods, right? So what I'm saying is if I eat more greens, beans, and like natural foods, I feel better. What's funny is when you're eating that way to feel better and you move your body, you just start to lose weight. So now we've gone down from 311 in the last 5 or 6 months. The last time I weighed myself, I was right about 275. So again, we've lost like 40 some pounds roughly. And I'm on a mission to I'm just going to keep going, because why wouldn't I? Like eating healthy and moving your body. And if it happens to shed down to a certain amount, I don't have a goal weight. I have I don't want to hurt and I want to be healthy goal. So who knows where that ends? I could be 180 at some point, maybe, but I don't care. Again, it goes back to what do you care about and what don't you care about? Mm-hmm. Here's the funny thing though, is I do care that I can be on the planet longer. I don't care if somebody judges me because I'm 26% or 18% body. I don't care about that. But I do care about being on the planet longer, because the longer I'm on the planet, the more time I have to help the humans, because it's all about the humans. And the more humans I help, the more ripples I get to see at the end of it. The longer I'm here, the more significant I can become. So you can see how all of this ties back to the main dialed in goal of how do I be the catalyst for humans to change the world? And it sounds like dude, you can't change the world. I don't care. I'm going to try in my own little way.
You were actually an inspiration for me, because once you started posting about your journey, I started feeling about myself, because look, hey, you can do it. Why are you doing it? And so I started doing it. I instantly, because where am I going? What am I doing? I'm just, and so the thing that I found is I have a professional wrestler buddy who does this all the time is found they're called Conqueror challenges. And what they do is they take fictional journeys and then they put actual mileages around that can control maps your actual physical activity to the fictional story. So start of 2023 started my fictional journey in Shire. I walked 623 miles to the shores of Mountain Doom to throw the ring of power into Mountain Doom. And so
Dude,
it had a purpose, it had a thing, it made me in the depths of February wanting to get out because, well, obviously I have to the good battle. So yes, I need to go out. I need to walk in 20 below zero weather. It was a big game changer for me. I have all these medals now that said that I did. And it was great because every once in a while you get an email saying, oh, great, you picked this part in the story. And here's some postcards for the movie and things like that. So if you're ever wanting to do something, I wholly recommend. And that was a big life changer for me. So I'm actually down, as of this morning, I think 56 pounds.
let's go.
From my high
So
weight.
two things. One, I'm super proud of you. That's freaking amazing. That you're on that goal. Second of all, I hope it's in the show notes. I hope you Slack it to me, you email it to me. I want the details of that. Cause first of all, I didn't mention this earlier, but like, Lord of the Rings or like going to the Shire or like getting nerdy, like, dude, if I could tie that to like my walks, because by the way, I don't have a problem with aimlessly walking around, like doing 2 laps around my community because I love the breeze, I love the leaves, I love the clouds. But if I could nerd out at the same time, oh, I'm down. I am down.
And they've got all sorts of other ones. I think the current one that they're doing is I don't remember, but then you can do like all sorts of like famous ones, like historical ones. So you can walk the Great Wall of China, and then as soon as you're done, you pay your money, and you follow along in the app, see where you're at, and once you're done, they send you a finisher medal. You finished a marathon.
That's amazing. I love that.
The last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up is as we're talking about how you've evolved. One of the things that you were involved in relatively early at HubSpot was something that I'm involved in, which is the HubSpot boot camps. And you founded, and really, I think, pioneered the whole concept of a HubSpot administrator being a valuable thing for an organization.
Yep. Yeah. It's been interesting. Like you use the word pioneering, like to be able to sit back and little old me realize I was part of like the partner onboarding service beta. They reached out as far as like they wanted to do a super admin boot camp. Hey, would you be part of it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And what's fun is from the ground up, we built this 6-week, 1 hour each week. Like, here's what you should be thinking about as a super admin, which by the way is such a difficult challenge because we have super admins who are super nerdy and we have super admins who are just getting started with HubSpot. And so how do you bridge that gap of like conversating with them? And so I had done it probably 3 different cohorts. We had put through this super admin training with Debbie and Stefan and Olivia helping along the way. And I just got this like wild idea of like, this is just not enough. It's just not enough. And there's other conversations that we're not having that we could be having. And so went from doing the super admin boot camp with HubSpot Academy to let's also launch our own version of that. And so we created a 12-week, which now we've actually honed it back to 10 weeks after getting our first, like, I'll say cohort, even though that's not what we call them. Getting the first set of humans through the 12 weeks. They're like, 12 weeks is a long time. So, okay, let's do 10 and let's figure out how we do additional content throughout the week that we just drip into your like super admin portal that we give you. And so now we're refining. We're going to launch the second version of this September 27th. And it'll be a 10-week super admin program where we're digging deep into like mindsets that super admins should have. We're diving deep into documentation and governance. And just some things that are outside of the typical, like, here's how you create a custom property. Now we'll teach that too, and data modeling and mapping. Like we'll talk about that too, but there's just some other fundamental things, like how to be a great communicator to the C-suite and to your team. Like that's hard to find and hard to teach, but if there's a guy who knows how to communicate, I think it's me. If there's a guy that's dealt with C-suite and team members, I'm pretty sure that's me. And so like, again, elements of who I am and who I've become injected into HubSpot nerdiness, human communication, documentation, and building roadmaps that these humans can actually understand what their role is supposed to be and the expectations that they should be holding up to or setting inside their organization. So I'm excited about where this goes eventually, how many people actually end up going through it. We're still early stages. I think there's a disconnect of a lot of the HubSpot ecosystem doesn't quite really realize when they've become a HubSpot super admin or not. Like, no, I'm just a normal human being that happens to use HubSpot. Like, listen, if you're doing these 5 to 7 things, you're a super admin. You just don't know it yet. We can help you. So we'll see where I feel like we're a little bit ahead of the puck, but we'll see where it goes and go from there.
Love it. It's always a joy to be around you. I always feel better about myself. And
I love it.
Like I'm a little bit more jazzed. Dave, any parting thoughts before we wrap up?
Just add a word of thanks and connection. Yeah, I think for the theme, and again, we're trying to bring more heart and a little bit more whimsy to the podcast as we go into season 3. And no better way to start this. So, George, you've been a huge help to us, always an inspiration, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you at Inbound and attending. And I think the thing that the team or that everyone that's listening can take from this is all you need to do is keep your core at the forefront. And I think the thing that really shines forward with George and what he does is he goes to serve humans. Nobody's going to turn you down or back away if it's clear that all that person wants to do is help you, right? So who doesn't want help? If it's clear that you have self-serving goals in mind and it comes off as hypocritical, maybe that's when people are going to tune out, when people have a really good BS smelling detector. And so there is no BS with George. And so I'm so excited to have you here and thank you for joining us on the pod.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully we're able to inspire some people to action. Honestly, after that, Dave, I just need to clock out and be done for the day. I don't know how it gets any better.
Well, we'll leave it at there. But George, just in case, where can people find you online?
Yeah. The easiest place, you can go to sidekickstrategies.com. You can go to beyondyourdefault.com. You can go to georgebthomas.com. But honestly, what you're probably going to do is go to LinkedIn, George B. Thomas, or you're going to go to Twitter. I guess we're supposed to call it X, George B. Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Anyway, so you can find me on socials. If you Google George B. Thomas, whatever your favorite platform is. By the way, if you want to have a real deal Holyfield conversation and you don't want it to be in front of the rest of the world, you could always email me, george@georgebthomas.com. There, email is always.
Or just deflate one of your tires, wait about 20 minutes. George will come by with an air pump. He's
my radar will go off. Beep, beep, beep. Jenny has a flat tire. Let's go.
Somebody needs me.
The
George,
bat signal, a big H. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Hopefully this will be a great season 3, and we're excited for more. Dial It In is produced by Nicole Fairclough and Andy Witowski. I'm Trigby. That's been Dave, and we'll see you for the next turnaround.
Thanks, everybody.